Hey guys, Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics EC, helping average guys perform better inside and outside the gym. So today I wanted to pop in here with something that I have struggled with in the past, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys, if you've ever tried to lose some body fat, restrict your calories, especially trying to get to pretty low body fat percentages, you have probably come across this same experience, and that is having difficult time sleeping at night. Now, this is a big problem because on the one hand, you're restricting your calories, you're potentially working out more because you're trying to lose that body fat, but one of the best things that you can do to be able to lose fat is to get a good night's sleep. In fact, getting up extra early to do that cardio, like maybe losing 45 minutes of sleep or whatever to go and do some cardio in the morning because you think you're going to help burn off some extra calories to lose that weight, could actually be detrimental. It would be actually better for you to stay in bed, get enough sleep, get at least 7 hours of sleep, in order to be able to optimally lose that fat. And some of the reasons for this is that when you're not getting enough sleep, it disrupts your hormones, right? So your hormonal balance is off, and you're disrupting things like your metabolism, how hungry you get, your insulin sensitivity, how much energy you expend during the day. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're less likely to be moving around more throughout the day. So, as I talked about earlier with the hormones, it can disrupt the hormones, and in particular, hormones such as leptin and ghrelin, which are going to affect, on the one hand, leptin is basically like your fuel, your energy gauge, right? When energy levels get down too low, when your body fat percentage decreases too much, then it's going to increase levels of hunger and cause you to want to move less, right? On the other hand, when you are well fed, it's going to be like, let's eat less and move more, right? And that is if you are not leptin resistant. That is actually a thing that happens many times when people are very overweight, is that they will not get that feeling of, I need to move more when I've eaten too much or something like that, or when I have plenty of fat on my body, right? And so they will continue to be feeling hungry and stuff because that switch is broken, even though they have plenty of fat stored in their body. On the other hand, you have ghrelin, right? And ghrelin is like a pressure switch inside the body that is basically like, hey, when the stomach gets to a certain capacity or a certain level of fullness or whatever, it says, hey, we're full, let's stop eating, right? And then when it gets below a certain level of pressure in the stomach or whatever, level of fullness, then it's like, hey, time to go eat again, right? And you can actually influence your ghrelin depending on the times of day that you eat. So if you regularly eat at 8 o'clock in the morning breakfast, noon you're eating lunch, and then 5, 6 o'clock at night you're eating dinner, your body's going to start feeling hungry at those times. Now, on the other hand, if you go for several weeks or whatever and you gradually eliminate breakfast, you're not going to feel hungry until noon, right? And you can go even further than that and be like, hey, I only eat one meal a day. And after you get adjusted to that, you're going to feel completely fine eating only one meal at the end of the day. And so that is, in a nutshell, a little bit of the background of the ghrelin and the leptin. And this is what can be disrupted if you're not getting enough sleep. And you can see how that would be problematic for your fat loss goals if you have no control over knowing when you should be feeling hungry, or when you've had enough to eat, or when you should be eating again. So as I briefly touched on at the beginning of this video, if you're not getting enough sleep, you'll be more tired, obviously, and so you'll be less inclined to want to go to the gym, want to move around throughout the day. You're going to be a little less, you're going to be less productive overall, and sometimes it's just going to be inadvertently so, but energy expenditure is going to be decreased. The other thing that can happen is that there's some research that shows that not getting enough sleep on a regular basis, so less than 7 hours of sleep per night, can actually reduce your base metabolic rate. So the average amount of calories that you're burning just at rest, just to keep your regular bodily processes going. And this is not only bad from a weight loss standpoint, this is also bad from the standpoint of your you're not going to be thinking as quickly, right? The interactions in your body aren't going to be happening as efficiently, right? And because that's basically what metabolism is. It is the sum total of all the interactions that are happening throughout your body. And so it usually gets this attention as being, fast metabolism, slow metabolism. If you have a fast metabolism, you're going to be able to lose weight more quickly. If you have a slow metabolism, it's going to be more difficult. Now, the thing is, and what a lot of people don't know, is that if you have a fast metabolism, it's actually more beneficial for trying to gain weight, right? A lot of times, unless somebody has a thyroid condition or something like that, which is very rare, it's like, I don't know, last I looked, it was like 2% of the population or something has a reason that they can't lose weight is because of thyroid stuff or something like that. But actually, a very heavy person is going to have a higher metabolic rate than a skinnier person is going to have, right? And so, going back to the thing that your metabolism is how quickly interactions are happening, if you can process food more quickly, it's going to allow you to be able to put on more weight more quickly as well. And now, if you are very active, it's also going to be able to deliver nutrients to your muscles more quickly, leading to, more energy, more ability to perform, right? So in those regards, having a fast metabolism is good for both performance, and it's also good for helping you gain weight because you're going to be able to process the food more quickly. If you have a slow metabolism, the food is going to be processed more slowly. You're not going to feel hungry as often, right? And so it's going to be harder for you to put that on. Now, if we switch this over though, if your metabolism is slow and you have gained some weight for various different reasons, probably because you have not been active enough, or eating the wrong kinds of foods that disrupt the hormones, so making you crave more food, making you hungrier when you otherwise wouldn't be if you're eating a proper diet. There's a variety of reasons that can happen. But if you have a slow metabolism, as a little caveat here, chronic high sugar consumption can actually slow your metabolism down as well. So many times people end up, when you're eating donuts, pizza, all this kind of stuff, beer, and so you not only are dysregulating your hunger signals, you can chronically, over time, this chronic and high consumption of these things can slow down your metabolism as well. So let's say now you are in the slow metabolism state, okay? And now that your metabolism is slow, it is also going to be harder for you to lose the weight. Just as it is harder to gain the weight, it's also going to be harder to lose the weight because the interactions happen more slowly, right? And this is what people are usually thinking of when they think about, I have a disadvantage because I have a slow metabolism. But the good news is, by cleaning up your diet, by increasing your level of physical activity, specifically having a balanced workout routine, not just doing whatever form of exercise burns the most calories, because at the end of the day, the goal of exercise is not to be a thing to burn off excess calories that you shouldn't have ate, or make up for dietary indiscretions, because all exercise is going to burn calories, right? But the running is not going to increase your metabolism long term, right? Running is also not going to potentially change the shape of your body in any substantial way. Yeah, you might get thinner or something, right? But it's having that combination of strength training, having a little bit of aerobic exercise, getting and blending them in at the right times and in the right doses to hit that physique goal or that body fat percentage goal that you have. Also blending it in with what I talk about in my 16-week online training program, which is a synergistic nutrition plan, meaning that it's not enough to just eat healthy and move more. Yes, that can help you to be just generally fit, but if you want to achieve specific goals with your fitness, you need to be training in a certain way for that goal, and you also need to be eating a diet that is going to help facilitate that goal. Not just, I want to lose body fat, so I'm going to eat less calories, or I want to build muscle, so I'm going to eat more calories, but specifically the ratios of the protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and that's going to be slightly different from individual to individual, but you want to find that sweet spot that allows you to not only maintain your muscle mass, as I'm going to talk about a little bit later on here, maintain your muscle mass while also reducing body fat percentage. If you simply just reduce your calories without any concern with where those calories are coming from, you are likely to be losing both muscle and fat at a relatively even rate. So you are, instead of getting lean and ripped like a bodybuilder, right, you are going to end up as a smaller, weaker version of yourself, but with the same general body fat composite or body fat percentage. And this is definitely not something that we want. So another thing that sleep deprivation can do, again on that hormonal end of things, is it can lead to insulin resistance. Now, when you are insulin resistant, it means that the sugars and stuff can't get into the cells efficiently to produce energy. So many metabolic processes get disrupted. Also, it's kind of like, I remember when I was in high school and I had to read this classic piece of literature. It's called The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. And in this, you've probably heard this specific quote. It's actually a very long poem. It goes on and on and on and stuff, right? But there's a very famous quote that you most likely have heard, and it's called, "Water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. Water, water everywhere, and all the boards did shrink." Meaning that there was water everywhere. They're in the middle of the ocean, but there was no potable water. There's no water that they could actually drink because it was all salt water. So this is kind of the same thing that happens with insulin in the body, right? Is that when you become insulin resistant, there will be sugar floating around in the bloodstream from the meal that you ate, but you are not able to absorb it as efficiently because it requires more insulin to do that, because you have become resistant to insulin typically because of a combination of not enough physical activity and chronic refined carbohydrates, high sugar intake, alcohol, etc. And so another thing that can contribute to that is not getting enough sleep, and the downstream effects of that can also be that you're going to be craving things like more high sugar, high carbohydrate foods to help try to get your body more energy throughout the day, which can ultimately lead to weight gain because you don't have the same efficiency of being able to process those carbohydrates. And so you're eating too many calories in an effort to get more energy through food to make up for what you're not getting with your sleep. So by this time in the video, hopefully I have conveyed the importance of why you need to get a good night's sleep if your goal is fat loss, other than the obvious thing that you're just going to feel like crap if you consistently don't get enough sleep. But now to the crux of the video, right? Because at the beginning of the video, I'm talking about, okay, here's all the things that you want to do to get more sleep. And if your goal is losing body fat, you really need to be focusing on getting enough sleep. And so why am I even bringing all this up? Well, because as I've been talking about in this video, and as you're probably well aware of, if you want to lose weight, if you want to lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit, right? And it's not about, eliminate all your carbs or get rid of all your fat or just eat fruits and vegetables, don't eat meat, just eat or only eat meat, all these different things. Most diets work for fat loss, right? The key differentiator between whether or not a diet is effective for you is how consistent can you be with it over time, right? Some people find that doing a low carb ketogenic diet works very well for them. Other people find that it's too restrictive. It limits their social life. Because there's only certain things that they can eat, and they get really, really, really tired of just eating protein and fat all the time, which in my mind, I'm like, great. If you're really tired of eating, then you'll just eat less, and it means you'll be that much more effective at losing weight. But that's neither here nor there. There's a variety of different reasons why people might not be able to lose weight on may prefer one diet over the other, right? So as this refers to sleep, one of the things that's really common is following a low carbohydrate diet, right? I've done these in the past for a variety of different reasons. I actually found that low carbohydrate diets help you to balance your blood sugar out so that you have you have more stable energy. You also have decreased hunger, which is another common reason that people will break their diet. And then you also have decreased cravings for high carbohydrate foods, right? Because when you eat carbohydrates, insulin goes up and then it comes down. And then when you eat, the next time you get hungry, you're going to crave whatever you had eaten before at the other meal. Whereas when insulin levels are more lower and just kind of like this, you're not going to have as strong a cravings for sugars and carbs and things like that. And that's why a lot of people, and the sugars and carbs tend to increase your appetite, right? And so if you can keep those more stable, you will be able to manage your hunger more effectively and ultimately lose weight. But for most people, unless you're like a fighter or an endurance athlete where absolute weight is also as important as body fat percentage, most people aren't just trying to lose weight, right? They want to retain or increase their lean muscle mass while shedding body fat. That's how you're going to get lean. As I talked about before, if you're losing both muscle and fat at the same rate, you're just going to be a skinnier version of what you were before. You're not going to be ripped, right? Or even just lean, because not everybody wants to be ripped. Not everybody wants to have those kind of things. But I think most people, they don't want to, have their belly sticking out over their shoes. They want to look decent at the beach. They want to have a flat stomach. They doesn't necessarily have to have a six-pack, but they want to look good overall, right? And so in order to achieve these things, you need to be losing body fat while maintaining, at the very least, maintaining your muscle mass. So what is a good way to do this? Well, in a low carbohydrate diet, if you're reducing your calories through carbohydrates, then that means that protein is going to stay the same, right? And the thing that happens is you don't need a ton of protein when you are eating plenty of calories and plenty of carbohydrates. Reason for this being is that carbohydrates, as long as you have good insulin sensitivity, are very anabolic, right? Insulin is an anabolic hormone. It's storage and growth, right? So you're not going to need a lot of protein. And this is why if your goal as a young guy, and I think usually in these videos I'm talking to guys that are 40 and above and that kind of stuff, but a lot of the same principles apply to younger men as well, is that many times young guys, they're like, I want to build more muscle, and they know, and I know I made this mistake as well, they're like, I need more protein if I want to build more muscle, right? Well, yes, that's true, but if you eat too much protein, too high a percentage of protein in your diet, it's going to be detrimental to your gains. It's also going to be detrimental to your performance. Why? Because protein, it's very good for hormone production, it's good for growth and repair of tissues, but it's not very good for energy production. The process of gluconeogenesis, of taking non-carbohydrate things, non-glucose things, and converting them into glucose is less efficient than just using glucose, right? And so you'd be better off getting, if your goal is to bulk up and get bigger, getting the recommended, 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, and then just eating more calories overall. When you're trying to cut and get leaner, you eat 1 gram of protein, maybe 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and reduce the carbohydrates, right? But the protein should always stay the same regardless of what you're doing, right? And so that's how, in a nutshell, how you get lean. And I think most people who are into fitness and bodybuilding, they recognize these are the kind of the standard metrics, right? Now, the problem is, though, is that when you are reducing carbohydrates, you also tend to be reducing serotonin levels, because protein and fat both increase levels of dopamine. And this is a good thing if you're trying to stay awake during the day, right? If you want to have more drive, you want to have more focus, you want to have dopamine levels higher. But you get to the end of the day, you don't want to be having all these high levels of dopamine, right? And so if you're decreasing the carbohydrates, because lower or moderate fat diets with a good balance of, the lean proteins and complex carbohydrates, oats, beans, rice, bananas, things like that, is going to help you release that serotonin. You're going to feel relaxed. It's going to help you fall asleep, right? It's going to help you feel good like that. Now, if you're restricting your carbohydrates, though, you get to the end of the day and you felt great all day, but now you still feel wide awake even though it's time to go to bed. And then the next day you just feel more tired and you start feeling like a zombie, right? This was the experience for me. So if you are interested in that kind of thing, I'm going to leave my email address down in the comments below. Send me a message and I will send back to you a copy of a guide to show you how you can sleep better when you are on a low carbohydrate diet, so that you not only have the alertness during the day, right, but you can also sleep well at night and achieve your fat loss goals by getting enough sleep, staying in the calorie deficit, and being able to perform at a high level throughout the day. So again, if you're interested in that, leave that. I'm going to leave that email address in the comments below. It's aceproaaron@gmail.com. Send a message to that, and I will send you over the free resource. And if you'd like to see more content like this related to muscle building, fat loss, nutrition for performance, as well as how to work around injuries if you should sustain them and to prevent them from even happening in the first place, then you might want to hit that subscribe button so you see more content like this. If you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps the algorithm so more people who could benefit from this content can see it. We will see you all in the next video.